Here's something nobody tells you when you start researching how to lose belly fat. The workouts you think you need, the brutal ones, the ones that leave you gasping on the floor, are often the least effective at targeting the fat that matters most. Visceral fat, the kind that wraps around your organs and quietly drives your risk for heart disease, diabetes, and metabolic dysfunction, doesn't respond well to intensity. It responds to precision. And once you understand that distinction, everything about how you exercise changes. Visceral fat is metabolically active in a way that subcutaneous fat, the kind just beneath your skin, simply isn't. It communicates with your hormones, it influences your liver, and it responds directly to the kind of steady, deliberate aerobic work that most people overlook because it doesn't look impressive. That sweet spot is called Zone 2. It's the intensity range where your body stops reaching for glucose and starts pulling from stored fat instead. Not just the fat you can pinch, but the deep, dangerous fat surrounding your organs.
Now here's what makes this even more interesting. You don't need to go outside to access it. You don't need a trail, a gym, or even a lot of space. Everything I'm about to share with you can be done indoors, in a small room, with no equipment, and still deliver the same metabolic adaptations that researchers observe in trained endurance athletes. 6 strategies, all backed by science, all designed to keep your body locked in that fat-burning window without ever stepping out the front door. And I'm saving the 6th for the end because it solves the single biggest reason people quit indoor cardio before it has a chance to work. But before we get into the routines themselves, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your body when you enter Zone 2, because once you see it, the exercises stop feeling optional and start feeling essential.
Inside your muscle cells, there are tiny structures called mitochondria. Think of them as the engines that convert fuel into usable energy. What most people don't realize is that the type of fuel those engines prefer depends entirely on how hard you're working. Push too hard, spike your heart rate too fast, and your body panics and reaches for glucose, quick-burning sugar that it can access immediately. Stay at a moderate, sustainable pace, and something quieter happens. Your mitochondria shift gears. They begin pulling energy from fatty acids instead. This is the metabolic switch that Zone 2 training is designed to trigger, and it's measurable in labs through what's called the respiratory exchange ratio, essentially a real-time readout of whether your body is burning fat or sugar. What makes this even more powerful over time is that Zone 2 doesn't just burn fat during the session, it rebuilds your engine. Consistent moderate aerobic training increases the number of mitochondria in your muscle cells and improves how efficiently they function. More mitochondria means a greater fat-burning capacity, not just while you exercise, but throughout the entire day. You're not just changing your workout, you're changing your biology.
There's another layer to this that most fitness content ignores entirely. Visceral fat accumulates and persists in large part because of chronic low-grade inflammation and insulin resistance. These two factors are deeply connected. When your cells become resistant to insulin, your body stores more fat around the organs as a kind of hormonal overflow. Zone 2 training directly addresses both problems. Studies consistently show that regular, moderate aerobic exercise lowers inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and significantly improves how efficiently muscle cells absorb glucose. Better insulin sensitivity means less fat being deposited around your organs. So while the workout looks easy from the outside, inside your body, something sophisticated and meaningful is happening with every single session.
Now, before you start, you need to recognize Zone 2 without a smartwatch or a heart rate monitor, because most people either push too hard and don't realize it, or hold back too much and lose the metabolic effect. The most reliable method is something called the talk test. If you can speak in short, complete sentences without gasping for air, you're close to the right intensity. Not whisper quiet, but not breathless either. There should be a gentle effort, a sense of sustainable challenge. The moment your breathing becomes choppy and you're chasing air between words, you've crossed into Zone 3, which shifts your body back toward glucose burning and away from the fat oxidation you're after. You'll also notice a steady warmth building in your muscles, not the overwhelming heat of a hard sprint, but a quiet, even warmth that spreads as your body increases fat oxidation. It's subtle, almost pleasant. And crucially, you should feel like you could continue for a long time. If you hit a wall after 10 minutes, you push too hard. Zone 2 should feel like something you could sustain for an hour if you had to.
One of the most underrated tools for staying in this zone is your breath itself. Researchers studying endurance athletes found that anchoring your pace to a controlled breathing rhythm helps regulate intensity and prevent accidental spikes. Try breathing in for 2 counts and out for 2 to 3. This simple pattern encourages a steady aerobic pace and discourages the kind of enthusiasm-driven acceleration that pulls you out of zone 2 before you even notice. If you feel the urge to breathe faster, that's not a sign to push through. It's a signal to slow your movement down. Breathing also supports vagal tone, the part of your nervous system responsible for keeping your heart rate calm and stable. Better vagal tone means smoother transitions in and out of effort, which helps maintain fat-focused metabolism rather than triggering the stress hormones that shift your body toward glucose burning.
The first indoor approach is the stationary bike, and it deserves its reputation as one of the most precise Zone 2 tools available. The reason is control. You can adjust resistance and cadence exactly, which makes it easier to dial in the right intensity without accidentally overshooting. The setup matters more than most people realize. Keep the resistance low enough that you can pedal smoothly without grinding. Choose a cadence that lets you breathe comfortably and hold a conversation. Research on cycling metabolism confirms that low resistance paired with steady cadence produces the highest rates of fat oxidation. Your body doesn't need to struggle to burn fat. It needs a consistent, sustainable demand. Pay attention to your upper body while you ride. Relaxed shoulders, a loose grip, and a soft jaw aren't just comfort tips. Tension in the upper body can artificially elevate your heart rate, pulling you out of zone 2 without any change in your actual effort. Relaxation is a performance skill in this kind of training. As the session continues, you'll notice your breathing settle into a rhythm. That settling, that sense of, I can do this for a long time, is exactly where your body starts drawing more heavily from visceral fat stores.
The second approach is controlled jumping jacks. And before you skip past this thinking it's too simple, hear the physiology out. When performed at a moderate, rhythmic pace, jumping jacks fit cleanly into the aerobic fat-burning window. The mistake most people make is going too fast, turning a Zone 2 tool into a Zone 4 burst. The goal is a smooth, repetitive motion with no explosiveness, no power, just continuity. Studies on steady-state plyometric movement show that when intensity is kept moderate, the body leans heavily on aerobic metabolism and fat oxidation rises. Your breathing should deepen gradually, not spike. If you're breathless within 2 minutes, slow the tempo. The rhythm itself, not the speed, is what produces the metabolic effect. One structural advantage of jumping jacks that rarely gets mentioned is that they distribute the workload across both the upper and lower body simultaneously. This means no single muscle group gets overwhelmed quickly, which helps keep your cardiovascular demand stable. Stable demand means stable Zone 2. If space is a concern, simply shorten your lateral step. What matters is that the movement continues uninterrupted. Land softly, keep your posture upright, and let the pace feel sustainable rather than impressive.
The third approach is the invisible rope technique, which is exactly what it sounds like. You skip without an actual rope. No tripping, no need for ceiling height, no impact from a rope slapping the ground. Just the rhythmic, light bouncing motion that researchers associate with improved aerobic capacity and steady oxygen utilization. The key is keeping the jump small and controlled. You're not trying to get height. You're trying to maintain a cadence that keeps fat oxidation active without spiking intensity. The calves play a central role here,
engaging what's called the stretch-shorten-in cycle, a gentle loading and releasing of the muscle that supports steady aerobic energy use without overtaxing the system. Your arms should make small circular movements, as if rotating a rope. This subtle upper body involvement actually helps regulate your pace because it discourages sudden acceleration. As long as your breathing stays smooth and you could hold a conversation, you're in range. For anyone with sensitive joints, alternating single-foot hops instead of two-foot jumps reduces impact while preserving the aerobic stimulus. Done consistently, this low-space routine behaves physiologically similarly to moderate outdoor jogging without ever requiring you to step outside.
The fourth approach uses something most people already have at home: a single step, a low platform, or even a sturdy book stack. Improvised stair-stepping is a metabolic powerhouse when done at the right pace. Research shows that stepping exercises at moderate intensity significantly increase oxygen consumption and fat oxidation rates. The goal isn't height, it's rhythm. Step up, step down, repeat. Your breathing should stay controlled and steady. If your heart rate surges, the step height is too high. A common early mistake is using a step that's too tall, which pushes the movement into glycolytic intensity and breaks the Zone 2 profile entirely. Your quads and glutes do the majority of the work, but because the movement is predictable and repetitive, your cardiovascular system adapts efficiently rather than being overwhelmed. Over time, this routine improves both aerobic capacity and insulin sensitivity, which, as we've already covered, are two of the direct levers for reducing visceral fat. If balance feels uncertain, keep one fingertip on a wall or chair. Stability allows you to maintain your rhythm without compensatory surges of effort that would pull you out of Zone 2.
The fifth approach is high knee marching, done slowly and deliberately. Not the rapid, high-intensity version associated with interval training, but a controlled, intentional elevation of the knees with relaxed posture and steady breathing. Think of it as walking in place with purpose. This movement elevates heart rate just enough to enter Zone 2 while keeping impact minimal, making it particularly well-suited for people with knee or hip concerns. Research on low-impact aerobic drills confirm they can significantly improve cardiorespiratory function when sustained at moderate intensity without the joint stress of higher-impact alternatives. The rhythm here is everything. Lift the knee, place the foot down softly, alternate without rushing. If your shoulders start to tense or your breathing quickens suddenly, dial the pace back. You are not trying to push through discomfort. You are teaching your body to access fat stores calmly through a steady, unhurried signal rather than a stress response. When done for extended intervals, high knee marching engages the hip flexors, core, and legs in a balanced, integrated way that supports both fat metabolism and functional mobility over time.
Now, the sixth strategy, the one worth waiting for. A structured mini-circuit designed specifically to eliminate the boredom that kills most indoor cardio routines before they have a chance to work. The fundamental problem with single-movement cardio indoors is that the mind disengages long before the body does, and when the mind disengages, people speed up unconsciously, trying to make the time pass faster, which pushes them out of Zone 2 and defeats the whole purpose. The mini-circuit solves this by rotating through a sequence of low-intensity movements every 60 to 90 seconds. Slow bodyweight squats flow into gentle marching, which transitions into controlled side steps, which cycle back to another movement. Each exercise is performed at a conversational pace. The transitions themselves maintain momentum without spiking effort. Studies on aerobic circuit training show that low-intensity multi-movement circuits can develop mitochondrial density just as effectively as continuous single exercise sessions, provided the intensity stays moderate throughout. The rotating structure prevents localized muscle fatigue, which is important because fatigue in a single muscle group can artificially drive up perceived effort and heart rate, even when overall intensity hasn't changed. By moving the demand around the body, you keep the cardiovascular load stable and keep fat oxidation running continuously. The mind stays engaged because the movement keeps changing.
The body stays in zone 2 because none of the movements are explosive. It's the most sustainable indoor cardio structure for people who've tried and quit repetitive cardio before. And it's the most psychologically intelligent approach to consistent fat-burning training. A few things to watch for as you apply all of this. The most common mistake is drifting into higher intensity without realizing it. Enthusiasm is a real threat in zone 2. A slightly faster pace, a slightly higher step, a slightly tighter grip, and suddenly you've crossed into zone 3, where carbohydrate dependence takes over and the fat-burning effect diminishes. Research on metabolic crossover points shows that even small jumps in intensity can dramatically alter fuel utilization. You don't need to feel the difference for your cells to have already made the shift. Check in with your breathing every few minutes. Ask yourself if the effort still feels sustainable. If it doesn't, slow down without judgment.
Add small pauses to key ideas. In Zone 2, relaxation is not passive. It's an active, deliberate part of the training itself. The more relaxed you stay, the more precisely you can sustain the metabolic zone that drives visceral fat reduction. Progress in this kind of training is measured slowly and with the right indicators. Waist circumference is one of the most reliable external markers because abdominal measurements correlate strongly with reductions in visceral fat. But internal signs matter just as much. If you can sustain longer sessions with stable breathing and lower perceived effort, your aerobic system is improving. If your resting heart rate is gradually declining, your cardiovascular adaptation is real. And if your energy throughout the day feels more stable and even, that's your body telling you that it's becoming more efficient at using fat as a continuous fuel source. These changes are quiet and cumulative, but they are real, and they compound over time in ways that dramatic, high-intensity training simply cannot match.
Visceral fat did not accumulate quickly, and it won't disappear quickly. But Zone 2 training, done consistently, and done indoors, if that's what your life allows, creates a physiological environment where your body becomes increasingly better at accessing and burning it. Not through punishment, through precision. That's the shift most people never make. And now you have everything you need to make it.